Today I'm doing a real-time plan with me for my weekly setup. I did a voiceover last time with sped up footage, mostly because while I am mostly migrating tasks and events and whatever item from the monthly spread and the week before to this new weekly spread, it takes a lot of attention and brain power, to be completely honest. Sometimes I reevaluate the things I'm migrating, sometimes I decide to discard it, or maybe a task for a project is truncated or just changed in some way, or whatever else. Basically, the setup does function as a weekly reset and a time for me to revisit what I've essentially deemed priorities and reprioritize. All this to say, I'm hoping this plan with me goes smoothly and isn't just littered with silent lulls while I contemplate the fate of each task or project. Please do let me know if you prefer a real-time plan with me or voiceover. Would love to know people's preferences. As always, I start with the monthly spread, where I move this dot sticker to the current day. This one's a little beat up, so I'll replace it with a new one. Since I don't use the sidebar for a weekly focus anymore, there isn't anything I need to fill in there except for the habit tracker. Like I've mentioned before, this is more of a daily to-do list, so I'll just mark those items with a blue colored pencil. I'm kind of contemplating switching to maybe a highlighter since I don't know if I'm enjoying the colored pencil, honestly. Okay, I did make a mistake there. So maybe it's best that I stick with the colored pencil, but basically what I've been doing is keeping the habit tracker for each week within this row. And when I start a new week, like today, I start in the next one, obviously. Sorry, clearly I have never filmed a plan with me before and it's getting to me, but here we go. This is just a few things, like if I read, if I did some hair care, skin care, some medical stuff. Let's see. Some of these I can only fill in after the fact, like after the day's over, so I have a few that I'll probably fill in later that I can't for the moment. And now I'll look at the actual calendar and see if there's anything missing, anything new that I scheduled recently, or something I need to move. Alright, so I don't set up my weekly spreads ahead of time, which I've mentioned in past videos. So I use the sidebar to note down future tasks that are assigned to specific weeks. And I do have something for the last week to add. And that's all for the monthly spread. So let's actually set up this week's spread. I have some items on the sticky note that I need to migrate, so I'll carry that over. But let's start with the date-specific events, appointments, and any other items on the sidebar here. Before I do that though, I'll set aside this bottom row for my total weekly expenses, so I'll just write down that header. I just keep forgetting that that needs to be part of the sidebar, so I like to do that first. But now that that's done, I'll migrate this week's items from the monthly spread. So let's see what I've got this week. So I have something for today, something I need to do for a project. And another thing I have to do for a project. Just making sure that name is correct. And it does have a time, so put that down. There's an event on the weekend, on the Saturday, so actually I did get that project name wrong, so just cross that out. I'm not too precious about that kind of thing. I mean, it bugs me, but it's fine. And one last thing. As you can see, I'm kind of counting the squares, even though it should be intuitive. I think I'm just still getting used to this. All right, let's see if there's anything else. So the way this works, well, I don't have specific tasks for the events coming up over here. It does remind me what I need to prepare. So actually, for something that I need to do on the last week that I do have down here, I can easily see that there's something I need to prepare this week instead for that. So I'll write that down. Let's actually start with our first project category. So that came from the monthly spread. It's probably the only thing that I need to write down here from the monthly spread within the columns. But I do have some items here on the sticky note that I need to migrate that are big items. So I'll start with that. And this is something I need to follow up on with someone. So that also falls into this project, and I'll put that here. I mentioned this in past videos, but I've been struggling a little with seeing open tasks at a glance because the grid in the Cousin is so small. And 2 weeks ago, I tried using this big slash instead of a cross, which I think worked well enough, but I don't love how it looks. It feels kind of messy, and I know my book isn't super neat, but it's messier than I would like. Last week, I tried marking open tasks with only half a cross, so a small slash basically, and then finishing off the cross when it's done. And that is somehow more distinctive than a dot and a cross, but I still had a bit of trouble seeing open tasks. I have not come up with a solution for this. I even contemplated doing a square checkbox and then filling it in. That would definitely be very distinctive, and I did try that out on a page in one of my projects. So here I had a to-do list for this project, and the check boxes worked fine, but I do think they'll be too busy on my weekly spread since you can see from past weeks they do get quite full. Anyway, the point is I have not found a solution, and I think I'll just keep on with the crosses for now. If anyone has any ideas, I would love to hear them. But let's keep on with the migration and check off the one that we just moved in. I do go more in depth into how the sticky note works for me in last week's video, so you can check that out, and I'll link that in the cards and description. Let's see, this is an errand, so I'll put that under a different category from my project. This is something I actually did yesterday. I managed to finish that. And all right, another project item. This is another thing I finished yesterday. Okay, there's a couple of things for a different project. Actually, I don't remember the name of that item, and I did not put that on the sticky note, so I'll just check real quickly. Okay, everything on the sticky note has been migrated, and I do remember there are a couple things I need to do here. I do sometimes put down this arrow between tasks, and that just denotes that they're related. You can see sometimes they are quite far apart, and so it's a much longer arrow, but when they're next to each other, it's just this teeny tiny one, which I don't know if you can even see it in the camera. All right. Now that we're done with that, let's see if there are any unfinished tasks from last week's spread. I do put this small circle at the end of each category when the entire thing is done, so that means I don't have to look at them. I mean, I usually do just in case, but when it's in the middle of the week, sometimes that's really helpful to know that I don't need to keep paying attention to that column or that section. But there's one open task here that I haven't finished, so I'll migrate that. And when I've migrated something, I mark it with this arrow or chevron sign. That's everything here, and I'll also mark that with the dot so that I know that everything's either done or crossed off or migrated. And there are dots here and everything's done. There's something here. Oops. So I'll mark that off. Sorry, I don't know if this is interesting at all, but please let me know if it isn't. This is all done. This is also all done. This is also all done, as you can see from the tiny dots or tiny circles. This is all done. This is also all done, but I was missing the circle. This is something I do need to migrate. Alright, so that is everything migrated, and I'll move the sticky note back to the previous week where it belongs. And there are a couple things that I do know have to do. And again, this is a different type of project, so I'm not putting it under here. Okay, so I think that's all for the beginning of the week. Yeah, I think there's one last thing. All right, so that is the weekly setup, and this is how the month is looking at the beginning of the week. Not that different, really. And I'll show you how this spread looks at the end of the week. So it's Sunday, and this is how my spread is looking at the end of the week. As you can see, it's not as full as, my previous week. And that's because I did not get too many things done. I had a sort of not great week, and that is reflected in this spread. There's a lot of tasks that I crossed off instead of, finishing them. I just discarded them. And there are a lot of open tasks as well, which you might not be able to see on camera, but there are. And this is just me explaining how this works, the system for my weekly spread, because I don't care that it's not full or whatever, since this is solely functional, even though I do like the way that it looks, obviously. But yeah, I thought it would be interesting to show you how these less productive weeks look on my weekly spread, or maybe not less productive, because that's not really the point, but either way. I did have some spending this week, and I covered those up. This is also Sunday morning, since I have a thing that I actually have to do tonight. So there are some, missing items here that I will probably do today. But all that to say, I have not filled in my total expenses since I might have some today as well. For my monthly spread, this is how it's looking at the end of the week. And as you can see, I finally bit the bullet and switched from the colored pencil for my tracker. And what I did was actually get these Tombow dual brush pens, I think is what they're called. I know everyone really loves them, so I decided to try them out, and I am enjoying them. I didn't mean to get this many. They were just on sale at the place where I got them, so I got a few of these for free. And the color that I used for my tracker was 623. I also filled in the April tracker, and that was a bit of a pain, honestly, because I had to erase the colored pencil in order to replace it with this, but it was fun. It's fine. Oh yeah, you can also see how my week was going through this tracker because I really fell off at the end there. I did not do my daily to-dos and only checked off 1 or 2 a day, which just reflects, how those days were going. And I do really like that it reflects that, because I can see maybe why I'm not feeling well, or, why the week has gone the way that it did. And I'm sure people who have done trackers before have found that to be true as well. And I actually did swatches. Of the markers that I got. And I know a lot of people have done this, but I needed to obviously test them out after I got them to see what the colors looked like on this paper. And I really like these. But yeah, these are the colors that I got. Let's see if I can put them in the order that I swatched them. And I'm actually really glad that I got these monochrome ones. These are the ones I got for free, because I do like to keep my spreads, especially my weekly spread, pretty minimal and not that colorful, as you can see. So I figured I can use these on these pages. And I'm actually contemplating using it for open tasks, since, as I've mentioned so many times, I have a hard time differentiating between finished tasks and open tasks, and I haven't quite found a solution yet. So maybe these will work. I can mark the open tasks with these brush pens, or, just one, and then cross them off with the pen, which is a much bolder color, obviously. My only concern is that it's not very convenient. I don't know if I want to wait until I can, reach for a brush pen to mark those open tasks, since, I note them down at anytime they come to me. And I always have the pen with the book. I actually just kind of clip it on here, but can't say the same for the brush pen, although I can just, I guess, make sure that they're both with the book. I don't know. I'll figure it out, and I think I'll try this next week, though, so I'll definitely update you on that. Oh, I also redid my index markers with this blue one. I really like this. At first, I thought it was actually way too light, and I was a bit worried. I wasn't sure if there was something wrong with the brush pen, if it was dried out or something. But no, I think it is just meant to be really light, and I just did a few swipes of it, and it looks great. I really, really like this. What was bugging me about the colored pencil is that it was creating this kind of shine, because I had to kind of really fill in each box to make them legible. So it was kind of burnishing the paper, I suppose. And obviously with this, that's not really a problem. So I really love how these pages look now. I'm also actually contemplating using this on the sidebar of the weekly because it's so light. So I don't know if anyone has this problem, but I have a really hard time with straight lines. I don't know what it is. I think it's just my eyes. For example, in the daily pages where the color is really, really light, for example, here, or actually, it was my reading journal. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, it's these colors. For some reason, when I'm in low lighting or whatever, I guess not for some reason then, but I have a really hard time seeing these lines when I'm writing. And then my writing just goes haywire. I can't keep it straight. Long story short, my eyesight is really bad, and I have a really bad time with straight lines. Anyway, so because of that, I have a really hard time figuring out which of these boxes is today, like lining up these dates with the column. And that, I don't know, that sounds really stupid, but it's not a matter of counting out the boxes or whatever. It's just, to my eyes, they kind of blur together. I don't know. Anyway, I'm contemplating using this to just make those columns bolder, and I'll be able to tell, more clearly if this is a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever. And since this is so light, I am hoping that it won't be too obtrusive, since I like to keep this spread pretty plain. Or maybe I'll use one of these grays. I know this one is pretty light, so I'll probably try that next week. I'll probably try the blue first, and if that's too light and I still can't really tell, then I'll switch to the gray. So this is how my spread looks at the end of the week. And this was my monthly spread. Hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.